Studio 10, well, claims of nepotism and the Prime Minister's daughter aren't going away. Last week, it was revealed that Tony Abbott's daughter Frances was awarded a $60,000 scholarship at a Sydney Design College. And there are more details emerging this morning in the new Matilda. For the latest, we are joined by editor Chris Graham. Chris, good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
What new details do you have about this scholarship?
Well, the Prime Minister's office and White House have maintained that the scholarship was awarded on the basis of merit, but we've been able to establish there's only one, possibly two other winners of this particular scholarship in the history of the organisation, and one is Frances Abbott, the daughter of the Prime Minister, who is a friend of the chairman of the Institute. The other is Billie Whitehouse, who is the daughter of the owner of the White House Institute. So merit appears to be a reference to genetics rather than scholarly ability. Although I'm not suggesting Frances is not a good student. Apparently she was a very good student, but it seems to have been based on genetics, not merit.
Chris, I think Frances actually graduated with distinction levels from the college,
She
from
did.
White House College. That's right. Is there any evidence, though, that the Prime Minister or Frances has done something wrong here?
Well, look, a lot of students graduated from that college with distinction level, but the documents that we had leaked to us revealed that the story as told by the Prime Minister's office and by White House is not quite accurate. It was the case that White House pursued Frances multiple times to get her to come across to White House because she was going to Billy Blue. The biggest problem they have with the scholarship is that it wasn't made available to anybody else. It was a secret $60,000 scholarship. It wasn't advertised prior to its awarding, it wasn't announced after its awarding, and it was kept secret from not just students but very senior staff at the college. It also wasn't disclosed by the Prime Minister in his Members' Interest Register, which is ironic because if you look through his register, if his children, Frances or Bridget, for example, were to attend a football game or a Myers function or any minor function, that would be declared in the Members' Interest Register. But the awarding of a $60,000 secret scholarship was never mentioned, so it's problematic.
But Chris, I've got to say though, I do feel though for Frances, I mean, here's a young woman who has a genuine interest and desire in design. As we said, she graduated with distinction. She's now working at that very institute now. It's also a private organisation. Are we giving her too hard a time?
Look, I understand people's view about that, and I feel sorry for her as well. I think she made a mistake in accepting a secret scholarship, and I think she made a mistake in accepting a job that has no defined role. She's the only one of 74 employees at that organisation with no defined role according to their own staff register. I think those were errors, but I think she's also been used quite cynically by others for political and other gain. So yes, I feel sorry for it, but it is a matter of huge public interest. You've got to remember this has come about, or the revelations have come about, amidst a budget that has sent university fees skyrocketing and increased the HECS interest rate. So people with existing student loans will have to pay back more money than they planned. And it's also come during a budget that's been described as the end of the age of entitlement. Now, if this is not a story fundamentally about entitlement, I don't know what is. And I think for those reasons alone, it is a matter of enormous public interest.
When was she awarded the scholarship? How long ago?
2011 she began the scholarship.
Okay, so she's completed it now. I mean, we do have a bit of conflict in the fact that if the Prime Minister is saying that it was done on merit, then of course he's not going to disclose it in a register because a register does. And we need to make that quite clear.
Sure,
that it's not an inconsistency in his argument.
I think it's
actually consistent with his argument. Well, but he said it's on merit, so that's quite different.
He said it's on merit. The evidence is that it wasn't on merit. There's only two people who've been awarded that scholarship. One is the daughter of the owner of the institution and one is the daughter of the Prime Minister.
True. So is the point here, it's not so much nepotism, but
no, it's not nepotism.
Hypocrisy. Is that perhaps more the argument?
I would say breathtaking hypocrisy,
It's rather cosy.
Look, it's too cosy, and you've got to remember, not only did Frances get a $60,000 secret scholarship, but she also got a job with no defined role. She was also chosen by White House to be interviewed by government regulators about whether or not they would get course accreditation for a new Masters of Design course. And as it so happens, Frances will be one of the first people to enrol in that Masters of Design course because they got subsequently the accreditation. So there's a lot of problems with this. I do feel sorry for Frances. I think it's very unfortunate that a young woman who's clearly very passionate about fashion and design has ended up in this situation. But Tony Abbott himself is the one who has been rolling out his family at every available opportunity prior to the election. At every available opportunity. I remember footage from another station of Tony frolicking in the pool with his bikini-clad daughters. Now,
yeah, that was a 60-minute story. Can you tell us now about the dinner that the PM attended at the college?
Sure. Look, this was in December last year, and it was basically a pre-graduation fashion parade, an opportunity for the students to display their work to their parents. The parents were, of all the students, were told that they had to pay to attend the function. It was a $60 ticket each. The students were quite upset because the fees of this college are very expensive. About 250 students put up a petition and it was rejected, basically ignored by the management of the college. The parents subsequently of all the students had to pay, but two parents did not have to pay, and that was Margaret and Tony Abbott. They got a free ticket to the event as VIPs, and they also were taken upstairs to a VIP room where they drank, well, where 2 cases of Dom Perignon champagne were made available to guests. Now, you know, again, against a budget that says the age of entitlement is over, I think is hugely problematic.
Look, it's not unusual for the Prime Minister not to pay for a function. I mean, there's no big deal. The Prime Minister of Australia does not pay to go to functions.
Sure, but what is problematic for the Prime Minister of Australia is that the parents of every other student at that organisation were forced to pay for the same function that he attended, and they did not know at the time that his daughter was on a $60,000 secret scholarship. And some of these parents, I've interviewed one family who's needed the assistance of the Smith family to get their daughter through this scholarship. She now has a $68,000 HECS debt. Set against the privilege that the Prime Minister and his family have enjoyed, I think it's problematic, but it's undeniably a matter of public interest and should be debated.
Chris, I think what we're looking at, because there doesn't seem to be any allegation of wrongdoing. It's a private college. The owners or the operators can use a captain's pick, if you like, to give places to whomever they want.
Sure.
I understand the advice to the PM's office is that he didn't actually have to declare it. He wasn't obliged to. I mean, really, we're not looking at any laws or rules being breached here, are we? We're just looking at something that is not a good look at a time when the government is jacking up university fees for everyone else. Is that fair to say?
Oh, look, I think we're looking at how lobbying works. Let's not forget that Les Taylor, that is the chairman of this college, a close friend of the Abbott family says, and a very generous donor to the Liberal Party. Now, the Prime Minister's register records 2 occasions where he's given gifts of clothing. So, you know, I think this is about more than just a bad look. This goes to the heart of how government is lobbied by people who are privileged and in power.
Well, it's certainly an interesting issue. Editor of the New Matilda, Chris Graham, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Sorry that it's moving along, unfortunately.